Everybody, go ahead.
Now begin with our press conference with Police General Debold Sinas, Chief of the Philippine National Police. We would like to request everyone to please rise for the invocation to be led by Police Colonel Arnulfo Castillo, Deputy Director of the PNP Chaplain Service.
Ilagay natin ating sarili sa pagpapala ng Panginoon. Panginoon, sinabi mo, mapapalad ang gumagawa ng daan na tulay sa pangkapayapaan at sila'y tatawagin mong mga anak ng Diyos. Ang mapagmahal, salamat sa mga pagpapala at sa kaloob mong biyaya, ang aming magandang kalusugan, katawan at isipan, ligtas sa anumang uri ng sakit at sa pagpawi mo sa aming mga takot at mga pangamba. Muli, pagpalain mo ang panayam o press briefing ng aming mahal at masipag na hipi ng pambansang pulisya, General Debold Sinas. 10 kami nagkakatipon-tipon dito at ang aming mga mamahayag, nakasangga at laging kasama namin sa pag-bulletin sa mga gawaing dakila sa iyong harapan. Ama, samot dalangin namin na kami ay lagi mong iyong instrumento ng iyong pagmamahal, kapayapaan at hustisya sa aming mga pang-araw-araw na mga gawain. Ang lahat ng ito hiniling namin sa kapangyarihan ng Espiritu Santo, magpasa walang hanggan. Amen.
Please be seated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief of the Philippine National Police, Police General Debold Sinas. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the command group and staff, to our friends from the media. Good morning and welcome to the multipurpose hall. We're happy to see you again. So before that, I'd like to acknowledge yung kasama ko po rito, yung of course si DCA natin, at the same time the chairman of the ASCOF that will be announcing on the latest development in our COVID monitoring of our personnel, si General Gilor Elizar. Nandito rin yung si DCO natin, si General Cesar Binag, which is in charge of the Task Force COVID, at the same time the supervisor of the rollout of vaccination in our country. We have also RTCDS here. We have the DIDM that will brief you on the latest crime situations. And we have the Deputy Director for Logistics that will brief on the body-worn cameras for your appreciation, the update of the procurement, and of course, nandito rin yung Director ng Health Service natin, at of course, yung Deputy ng Chaplain Service. Other staff will be joining us later on. Now, because at 11 o'clock, I'll be asking permission to leave because si DCA muna mag-take over, because I'll be attending the Zoom of the Senate hearing under Senator Gordon. Baka may issues siya and concerns sa amin, so I'll be there, so forgive me. So unahin ko muna yung issues tungkol sa akin. Just this morning, we have the MOA signing first with AMLAC, the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Ang MOA nito ay nagdi-determine sa establishment po ng PNP AMLAC Intel Fusion Center located at the PNP Drug Enforcement Group Office, yung pong dating DIPO office sa likod, yung malapit sa may training center. There will be a dedicated office there for coordinations. Ito rin ay papalakasin po rin yung financial investigations namin, hindi lang po sa drug cases, kung hindi pati na terrorist groups at saka yung sa CNN. Kasama po dito sa Intel Fusion nito ay yung offices of the IG, CIDG, yung anti-kidnapping group at saka yung IMEG. Doon po sila para kung kailangan po ang coordination sa AMLAC, meron na pong specific office kung saan sila magmi-meet ag magdi-discuss. No? Of course, yung training, enhancement capability ng personnel natin regarding financial investigations. And of course, data sharing po. So, yun ang kuwan po namin doon, ang purpose ng MOA niyan. Yun naman yung signing ng IRR, implementing rules and regulations sa MOA, sa PESA, which was signed in 2017 ata, no? By General Bato. So, ngayon lang napirmahan yung IRR because of the change of administration plus yung COVID. Supposed to be early part of last year sana yung signing, kaso lang may COVID na pandemic. Ang purpose ng IR noon ay is to strengthen yung MOA and the establishment of police community precincts sa mga established na mga PESA areas, yung mga economic zones natin. Binanggit na po kanina, no? Yung sa Bataan, yung sa may Subic, at saka may sa Baguio. So tatlo na pong na-establish ngayon. Yung iba pa ay mag-create sila at magagawa po sila ng infrastructure, tapos mag-assign kami ng police noon kasama yung PESA security force nila, yung mga security guard nila, which form part as the force multiplier ng PCP natin sa mga economic zone. Pangalawa, yung joint training po, no? Training sa PNP will train their personnel for awareness and security matters regarding ng mga threats, mga bombs threats, mga IED threats, and yung personal threats. Also, in exchange, they will also train our people on some economic factors that will help the police understand and maybe help us to invest later. No, yun po yung exchange namin doon. And yung joint training namin will also include yung mga personal security ng mga personnel po ng PESA. And yun po kanina. And kanina rin, na-awardan po si Major General Rodel Sermonia ng Civil Service for Lingkod Bayan Awardee po siya. And this, we are happy that one of our key personnel is an awardee of Lingkod Bayan. And that shows of the PNP's dedication to its works that been recognized by the civil service. So, yun po yung activity natin kanina. And we're happy na natuloy ito because this will lessen our problems in this specific area and will help us implement the different police works, particular na sa mga economic zone areas. So with that, we have these presentations. If you don't have questions, meron kayo questions sa akin before we proceed? Or mamaya na lang? Mamaya na lang. So with that, thank you very much and welcome. And let's start the sequence of our presentation, the monthly and weekly crime statistics that will be presented by the Director for Investigation and Detective Management, Police Major General Marnie Marcos. Marnie, take charge.
To our beloved CPNP, Police General Debold, Sinas, sir, members of the command group, the officers from the directorial staffs, our friends from the media, other officers, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to everyone. I will be showing you the crime environment for January 2021 in comparison to the same period last year. Next. For the 2-week comparative period, from January 2020 last year versus January 2021 this year, index crime decreased or went down by 49.2%, while non-index crimes increased or went up by 6.78%. This decrease on index crimes were still attributed to the restricted movement, limited physical contacts, and interaction of people during the pandemic, comparing to the period last year without the COVID-19 problem. Whereas the increase of non-index crime is by the product of the increase of quarantine-related violations due to the pandemic. On the screen is the summary of graphical representation of 8 focus crimes comparing the month of January 2020 versus same period of this year. In general, all of the focus crimes went down on January 2021 as against the same period of last year as shown. On the crime clearance efficiencies for January 2021 is comparatively lower than same period last year by 5.99%, while the crime solution efficiency is slightly improved by 0.11%. Most of the incidents under investigation are Republic Act 11332 or mandatory reporting of notifiable diseases and health events of Public Health Concern Act, and murder. Let us now go to the crime environment for February 5 to 11, 2021 as compared to the previous week, January 29 to February 4, 2021. For the 2-week comparative period from January 29 to February 4, 2021 versus February 5 to 11 of 2021, it can be observed that index crime decreased by 70 incidents or 10.95%, while non-index crimes decreased by 108 incidents or 3.18%. The decrease on the index crimes is attributed to the decrease of all of the 8 focus crimes except physical injuries, whereas the decrease in non-index crimes were brought about by the decrease of violation of Republic Act 11332, Anti-Child Abuse Law, and violence against women and children incidents, to include other quarantine violations. On the screen is the summary vis-a-vis graphical representation of 8 focus crimes on January 29 to February 2020 versus February 5 to 11, 2021. All of the focus crimes went down except for physical injuries. On the crime clearance efficiency and crime solution efficiency, both went down by 6.68% and 4.64% respectively. Assessment on the crime environment. The overall decrease in all 8 focus crimes in January 2020 as against the same month of the previous year are caused by the following factors: limitation of movement of people, the enhanced managing police operation is actively in place in support of the existing intervention of the PNP. The increase of non-index crime incidents in January 2021 as against January 2020 when there is still no pandemic is mainly attributed to the rise of quarantine violations due to the ongoing pandemic. On the decrease of crime clearance efficiency for January of this year, 2021, the reasons are most of these cases are still under investigation, especially on violations of Republic Act 11332 and murder incidents. Cases for January 2020 are now mostly cleared because of the constant follow-ups and updates done over time as compared to the length of time lapse from January 2020. On the overall decrease in all 8 focus crimes are caused by the following factors. The proactive measures enforced by the PNP through its various initiatives and interventions serves as an effective preventive measure for majority of the 8 focus crimes. The use of intensified checkpoints, patrols, and other interventions during the community quarantine by the police force, amplified by the active support of the force multipliers, and continuously curb the number of 8 focus crimes incidents. Another is enhanced managing police operations is still in place. Further, as still effect of the pandemic, the restriction on physical contacts and interaction of people really affects the downward trend of crime incidents. Based on the data generated from Sinas, there is an increase in physical injuries as against the previous week, that of January 29 to February 4. The following regions have shown an increase in physical injuries. Regions 4 increased by 4 incidents, or 133.37% from 3 to 7 incidents. Region 10 increased by 4 incidents, or from 1 to 5 incidents, and Region 10 increased by 4 incidents, from 2 to 6 incidents. Most of these incidents are committed through mauling in residential areas or along the streets, brought about by heated arguments and misunderstandings. Decrease in crime clearance and crime solution efficiencies for the comparative week. There is an increase of both index and non-index crime incidents that are currently under investigation. Majority of the index crime incidents under investigations are murder, robbery, and theft. Most of these cases are non-index crimes that are yet to be filed in court. The Republic Act 9165, or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act, the Republic Act 11332, the mandatory reporting of notifiable diseases and health events of Public Health Concern Act. 48 out of the total of 471 incidents are under investigation. On PD 1602, 45 out of the total 471 incidents are under investigation. This will improve as the week progresses with the recent developments on the investigation of these incidents to include the eventual filing of cases. That ends my presentation. If you have questions, I am ready to answer them.
Thank you very much, Marnie. Let's have the Deputy for the Logistics General Jun Tadeo that will brief us of the status of the procurement of one body-worn camera and the donations we received from February 1 to 20 to 11. Go ahead, Jun.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning to the members of the media, to the other officers, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation is composed of the updates on the status of the procurement of one lot body-worn camera and donations from February 5, 2021 to February 11, 2021. On the status of the procurement of one lot body-worn camera system, the proponent is EVI Distribution Incorporated, represented by Ms. Irene Laus. The source of fund is through the General Appropriations Act of 2018 through Congressional Initiative Allocation with the approved budget contract of 333,999,894.19 pesos, with the bid contract price of 288,888,808 pesos. The notice of award was given last December 5, 2019, with the notice to proceed given last December 23, 2019, with a supply contract dated December 18, 2019. The schedule of requirements is 140 calendar days from the notice to proceed date, and the original date of delivery is May 11, 2020. The performance bond is still valid up to December 6, 2021. The one lot body-worn camera system is composed of 2,696 units, but with the efficiency and transparent bidding process, the PNP still have more than 45 million which can be used to produce additional body-worn camera. The cameras, as I have said a while ago, was supposed to be delivered on May 11, 2020, but because of the pandemic, we had two extensions requests which were approved for July 10, 2020, and for the second extension on October 8, 2020. But these cameras were already delivered to the end users last September 21, 2020. The functionality test and evaluation was already conducted. Also, on February 12 to 13, 2021, the body-worn camera system training was already conducted through online. Ongoing is the installation of the system at the PNP Command Center. For the donations, from February 5 to February 11, for the police regional offices, we received donations amounting to more or less 1.3 million. The D staff, through the Directorate for Logistics, received 75 million worth of face masks from PNPA class of 1989. The Health Service received donations with the amount of 9,467,033 pesos, and the bulk of it came from SM Foundation, with a total of 9,467,033. With the all in all, in the PNP had a donation amounted to 10,891,825.05 cents. In passing, sir, may I show to you the donors, sir, the generous donors from for our PROs and other units. Go ahead. That's all for the Directorate for Logistics, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, June. Now, the third is the update on COVID-19 cases of the PNP. This will be initially discussed by our TDCA, General Giro Elizar. Bok, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Can we have the presentation for this update? It's been quite a while. I think more than a month ago when we give this update. So, ito po yung ating mga bagong update nito. This data actually was collated as of yesterday. Happy Valentine's Day sa inyo. 6 p.m. habang kayo ay kasama ang inyong mga mahal sa buhay. Ito naman po yung update na binibigay natin. Okay, let's start with the first slide. So ito po yung ating template. As of last night, we have a total number of confirmed cases of 10,782 since we started our monitoring last year, with 481 still active cases after 10,270 have recorded. So kung titingnan natin, napakaganda naman na recovery natin. Unfortunately, meron tayong 31 na namatay at na-report ito kahapon. Ito ay naka-assign sa NCRPO na Manila Police District. 50 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And matagal na siyang na-hospital at ang kanyang complication with COVID. So kahapon din, we have recorded 122. After the case reported, actually yesterday was 101. Matatanong nyo bakit mataas ito? Actually po, for the past weeks, we've been updating our CODA system. Dahil naniniwala tayo na ito pong CODA kasi natin, itong COVID-19 data natin, combination siya o hybrid nung electronic recording and manual na nanggagaling sa field. Pero ngayon, gusto natin, everything will be generated electronically with the protocol set by DOH dahil this is PCR, RT-PCR test ang basis natin. Kung kailan tinest, so that kung kailan sila naka-recover, kung nag-positive sila. And all of these things will be our baseline figure for other data now that we are going to vaccination eventually. For all you know, itong vaccination, meron din tayong panibagong monitoring na gagawin. Yung susunod na vaccination pa, yung second dose, anong klaseng vaccine yan, at yung kung sakaling may mga side effects siya. And patuloy pa rin itong PCR test na gagawin natin. So we want that this particular database will last for years na pwede natin gamitin. Isa pang importante kasi dito is, this is PAIS-based, yung ating Personnel Accounting Information System-based. Meaning, tao-tao na talaga to, hindi pwede mag-double counting. Kasi meron kasi tayo na nakita na posibleng mag-double counting. Like yung mga nag-i-schooling. Sinasubmit sila ng ating training service, pero ang mother unit naman nila sa region at maaaring nare-report din doon. Yung lumipat, like for example, sa NCRPO, may mga nag-positive noon, but because lately may mga na-transfer na, dala-dala nila yung record noon. Yung record ng tao, kung saan man siya pumunta, dala-dala niya yun. But the history of that, kung saan niya na-contract, kung saan nag-positive siya, kasama sa database natin yun. So out of the 111 actually, dahil nasa process tayo ng pag-update and we are glad to say na nagtugma-tugma na tayo ngayon, only 40% or 40 out of 101, ito yung record niya last week or February. 21 dyan, January, at yung 40, actually, last year pa. Ito yung mga adjustment natin na hindi na-record noon because of this sinasabi natin na naligaw. Pero tinatama natin lahat yan. And we want that all the all the personnel, lalo na kung sila ay positive, all accounted sila. At yun naman ang ating gusto mangyari. Next slide, please. So, ito rin yung template natin. Nakita natin na aside from the 10,782, meron tayong minomonitor 194. Ito yung possible na 81, suspects na 100, at probable na 713 for a total of 11,676. Next slide. Now, i-breakdown natin ngayon itong mga important data, the new cases, for total of 101, 3 sa NHQ, 16 sa NSU. When we say NSU, both the admin and operational units natin, at 82 sa PRO. For the 481 active cases na ngayon, 19 sa NHQ, 125 sa NSU, at 337 sa PRO. At confirmed cases as shown in this slide. So mga ating mga nasawi, isa sa NHQ, 11 sa NSU, at 19 sa PRO. Okay. So, next slide please, just for your information, itong breakdown yan. We can send to you or provide you with this data. So far, ito po yung ating data on COVID cases for NHQ. Next slide. For national support units, andyan po makikita natin ang breakdown nila, 16 new cases, 125 active cases, 2,621 confirmed cases with 11 deaths. And for PRO, yan naman po yung breakdown natin. 82 new cases, 337 active cases with 7,751 cases and 19 deaths. Recoveries naman yan, hindi natin nilagay, pero yung balanse naman yan is yung recovered natin na napakataas naman. Next slide. Out of the 481 active cases, 18 po yung nasa hospital and 463 sa ating mga PNP quarantine facilities. Next slide. All in all, nakita po natin na 95.2% na ang nakarecover. Only 4.5 yung active cases na may 0.3%. Well, compared with other sectors or in the national setting, napakababa naman ito. Pero gusto natin na hindi na madagdagan ito. That is our objective. Next slide. Ipakita naman po natin itong just for your information. Itong mga confirmed cases natin, base sa strength by category. And ang NHQ natin, itong mga nasa national headquarters, even though maliit lang yung confirmed case na 410, pero kung ikukumpara natin, dun sa strength ngayon, 12.1% na noong mga personnel natin, ang in one way or another, nag-positive sa COVID-19. For NSU, 7.6%, as a PRO, 4.3%. For the whole nationwide average of 4.9%. This is logical considering that NHQ is inside Kamkrame, and in the NSU, our central offices are here in Metro Manila, kaya mas mataas talaga dahil Metro Manila remains to be the epicenter of this pandemic. Ang PRO, kahit pinakamaraming confirmed cases, pero kung ikukumpara sa kanilang strength, 4.3 lang yung nag-positive sa kanila. Next slide. Just for your appreciation, ito yung bar graph natin for confirmed cases nationwide. Next slide. For breakdown, ito yung template natin sa NHQ. Makita po natin na ito yung mga figure niya. Andyan yung strength nila at andyan yung confirmed cases. Just like what I've said, ito kasi yung assign na sa unit na yun. Kaya kung malipat-lipat naman, makikita sa iba kung anong unit ngayon, kinikerry siya. Dahil yun ang basis natin, yung mother unit. Next slide. For your appreciation, this is the bar graph. Ito yung percentage ng personnel na nag-positive based on the strength of this particular unit. Next slide. For NSU, ito yung mga data, but for better appreciation, next slide please. So makita naman natin dito ngayon, percentage of confirmed cases over the strength of its unit. The average of which is 7.6%. And for our PRO, ito yung raw data nila ng mga confirmed cases. At yung strength nila kung saan sila kine-carry sa ngayon. Next slide. Pinakababa ang 4.3 sa mga tatlong category. Pero andito naman yung bulk ng atin. NCRPO, 12%. Ito yung 23,000 strength nila at 12% yung nag-positive sa kanila dahil nga andito ang epicenter sa Metro Manila. Followed by Pro Cordillera, and then Pro 4A and Pro 7. Of course, other factor considering is yung ating testing, which is kaya nga ang pag-analyze nito ay yung iba't ibang mga parameters. Next slide, please. Now, i-check naman natin itong PCR test natin. Sa ngayon, as of in our CODA right now, or 6 p.m., 91,837. Before kasi, manually sinasubmit ng mga regions natin itong kanilang PCR test. Ngayon, wala na. Yung sinasabit nila, hindi na pinagbabasihan yun. Yung CODA generated na. Sila na lang mag-i-input based on parameter dahil nga meron ibang nag-double counting. Last month, nung magkaroon tayo last natin dito, parang mataas na dito nga yung total tested. Bakit ngayon bumaba? Nilinis na natin ito. Tinanggal natin itong mga double counting. Itong test natin, we want that accurate data will be here. Kasi lahat ng data natin, ang gusto natin dito, pati date na andun, hindi na sinabit na may test ka kahit ba negative yan. We need the date because we need those information eventually dahil sa ating pang mga analysis na pwedeng gawin which will aid the PNP leadership on its policy making. So kung makita po natin yan dyan, pinakamaraming NHQ, 90% of our personnel based in NHQ had been tested. This is regardless of the number of tests per person. Ito yung total number of personnel natin. So sa NSU, marami din kasi nga andito pa rin yung epicenter at ito yung 41% or 42% na ng ating buong PNP personnel ang na-test at least once. Next slide. So for bar graph, ito po yung nationwide natin. Now let's go to the next slide which is for NHQ. Ito yung raw data natin, the strength, and ito yung personnel with test already, whether negative or positive ang result nila, and the corresponding percentage. Next slide. So kung makita natin dyan, halos lahat 100% na. Meaning, lahat na test na, one way or another. Yung IAS, 71 to 72%, nagsimula yan dati sa parang 12% lang, but most of their personnel actually are deployed outside Metro Manila. Kaya nga, while ang objective natin is matest sila, pero with all practicality, kung hindi naman infected yung area na, no need for them to test. Lalo na kung malayo ang molecular laboratories yan. That holds true with other units na lalo na ang deployment nila is outside Metro Manila. Next slide. For NSU, both admin and operational, ito yung raw data natin. Strength and personnel with test. Next slide. So makita natin dito, ayan, 56%. Marami kasi dyan na ang deployment nila is outside Metro Manila pa rin. And hindi mo natin maobliga na 100% natin sila. PNPA, 100%. Kasi yung mga kadete, it is the guidance of our Chief PNP na talagang i-monitor natin yan. Pati na rin yung mga organic personnel. Next slide, please. Now, for PRO, ito ngayon, yung strength and PCR test nila. And let's take a look sa bar graph at makita natin. NCRPO, almost all or 94% of their personnel have been tested, followed by Pro 4A and Cordillera. Ito yung makikita natin na yung Pro 4A kasi is malapit sa Metro Manila, malapit sa epicenter. So, mas mataas din ang COVID-19 infection, like pre or rate. Ang Cordillera, talagang aggressive din yung testing nila, talagang naapektuhan rin din ni Mayor Magalong. At the same time, napakaganda lang coordination na ginagawa sa DOH na mayroong molecular laboratories. And others, depende na sa area. Hindi ibig sabihin mababa naman yan, below far ang trabaho nila. It so happen lang na may kanya-kanyang peculiarity sa kanilang area. Next slide. Ito naman po yung, ito ginawa ka natin, tinintindi natin na dahil nga ang focus natin is aggressive testing in the highly infected area dito sa Metro Manila. So kinuha natin yung ilan ba ang nandito, nakabase sa Metro Manila. And ang category nila is inside Camp Crame. Whether you are in an NSQ or you belong to other NSUs or other regions na dito kayo nagtatrabaho, mga liaison officers of other regions na nandito. We accounted for 10,814 and so far, 94% of them have been tested. Outside Camp Crame but inside Metro Manila, ito ngayon yung ibang units like NSUs na wala sa loob ng krame pero nasa loob pa rin ng Metro Manila, we accounted for 6,204 and 70% of them have been tested. Ito naman yung organic na NCRPO na regular na nakadetail sa kanila. Hindi yung nakadetail kung saan-saan. 94.4% have been tested for a total of 90. Ibig sabihin, 9 out of 10 personnel na nakabase sa Metro Manila, whether ang mother unit nila kung nasaan man, pero dito nagtatrabaho sa Metro Manila, have been tested. For graphical representation, ito po makita natin for better appreciation. So ito yung focus natin. Ito ang gusto nating ma-100% na at least once man lang. Pero paulit-ulit po dito, merong iba dito, like us here, wag niyo na pong tatanungin, pero maraming beses na kasi because of work, kailangan pumunta doon, kailangan makipag-meet doon, so kailangan i-test siya. So maaaring isa po ulit-ulit. Next slide, please. So in the average, ito na po yung official figure natin ngayon, but other units can update them. 42% have been tested, with 58% hindi pa po natetest siya. Kalimitan nasa malalayong lugar. Next slide. So ito naman yung sinasabi nating number of tests na na-record sa CODA. While sinasabi natin doon 91,000 lang yung 20% na test, ito naman, ito yung number of tests na ginawa. So ito yung sinasabi natin na yung mga assigned sa NHQ, kahit 3,000 lang kami, 7,000 na yung test na conduct dito. Sa NSU, 34,000. So, makita natin yung iba. Dahil nga, we need to have frequent testing on the personnel who are assigned in infected areas. Okay, next slide. So, positivity rates. Nilagyan lang po natin ito, ang covered period dyan since the start. Itong conducted test, hindi ito number of personnel conduct na test ha, ito yung number of test. Kaya kung makikita natin, even though sinasabi nga natin na 12% of our personnel SQ have been are infected na, pero yung positivity rate niya mas mababa dahil meron kasi dito na mas marami kaming test paulit-ulit na natetest, but on proper scheduling, hindi naman yung everyday. At least every week or every yung tama yung kanilang timeline. So ito po yung positivity rate natin, 8.5%. But sa next presentation namin, ina-update natin, we will show you yung ating, mayroon tayong period. Yung trend natin on weekly basis. Since the start, on every week, ilan ba ang test natin, ilan test yan, ilan ang confirm, so that we can know the trend. And based on our assessment initially, bumaba po yung positivity rate natin, bandang huli. Meaning, nag-i-improve tayo. We will show to you that sa ating mga sunod na next slide. So, just the bar graph for positivity rates. Next slide. For NHQ, this is the data. The graph is on the next slide. So, ayan po. Next slide. Para sa mga NHQs natin, ito yung total number of tests na sinagawa sa kanila. Yung iba ay multiple test, for example, confirmed cases. And next slide, ito po yung positivity rate natin. Mataas nun sa SAF. Next slide. For mga PROs, ito po yung positivity rates natin. Next slide, please. So, PRO 11, makikita natin doon. So, ito po yung nagiging basihan ng ASCOT, pati na rin yung ating mga regional task forces para ma-address to. But basically, in general, napakabilis naman po ng recovery at naging maayos siya. Next slide, please. So just to give you average na discuss natin, makita natin dito na, like for example, in NHQ, while out of the 219,000 personnel, the NHQ represent only 1.5%, pero na-test na po namin dyan 90% dahil nga andito siya sa Metro Manila. At nakita natin na ang confirmed cases niya out of the population ng NHQ is 12%, pero ang positivity rate niya is 5.6. For the NSU, 15% or 16% ng population, 56% na na-test natin sa kanila, at 7.6% naman ng kanilang personnel nag-positive na. Positive rate 7.7. Sa PRO, the bulk of our personnel are in PRO. Pero ang testing natin sa kanila is 38% lang, considering na most of their places ay hindi naman highly infected. So, ang confirmed case sa kanila is 4.3 with 9% positivity rate dahil hindi ganun kadami ang test na kinakonduct natin sa kanila. And that is the recap. Next slide, please. So, sir, with your permission, since we are preparing for the vaccination, it's supposed to be dapat nga ngayon daw darating, pero delay ng konti. And ang initial kasi, even though in the priority listing, ang PNP is, sabi natin, sa ika-4 o ika-5, but then we have general hospital here. And based on the guideline of the ITF, lahat ng mga personnel ng mga general hospital, that includes PNP General Hospital, kasi kami rin yung tutulong sa deployment. Actually, the Oplan Cadocius will be discussed by DO later. But sa ngayon, we would like to give you a brief background on our preparation for the vaccination of our personnel in General Hospital. So, with the indulgence of the Chief PNP and Director of Health Service, may I call Dr. Police Major Clarissa Modes of the Health Service to discuss our vaccination plan, on which we have already conducted simulation exercise. Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Before you go, DCA, sir, take charge ka muna. Please indulge me. I will be attending the hearing at the Senate with Senator Gordon. I know DCA could handle everything. Thank you. I'll excuse myself. Pagka matapos ka agad at naabutan ko pa kayo, I'll be back. Take charge.
Our Chief PNP will be attending a Zoom meeting, Senate meeting, hearing. So let's proceed with the COVID-19 vaccination for our General Hospital personnel. Go ahead, Dr. Clarissa.
Good morning. For the Philippine National Police General Hospital or the PNP General Hospital COVID-19 vaccination plan. The PNP-GH is a level 2 hospital with 174 bed capacity, and we have 55 COVID dedicated beds for our PNP and other authorized PNP personnel. For the concepts of operation, we have 3 phases: the pre-implementation phase, the implementation phase, and the post-implementation phase. Next slide, please. Next slide. So for the pre-implementation phase, we had identify and determine the PNP personnel who will administer the vaccine. Vaccination information drive was also conducted. Identification and storage facility was also identified. Identification of vaccination and post sites. Identification of the vaccine composite team. Identification of the referral hospitals. Lateral and vertical coordination meeting with and among task offices and other concerned government agencies. We also had our cascading programs, drill exercise, motion exercise, and simulation exercise. For the implementation phase, it is the vaccination administration. So, pagka nandiyan na po ang bakuna, tsaka po tayo magkakaroon ng implementation phase. So, while the post-implementation phase would be the monitoring and response to the adverse effect following the immunization. Dito po sa amin, gagamitin po namin ng PNP CODA para ma-monitor yung mga PNP personnel po namin na mababakunahan. So next slide please. So for the priority listing, due to the scarcity or the limitation of the vaccines sa umpisa po, sinusunod po namin ang priority list na binigay ng ating DOH. So based on the high COVID positivity rate due to nature of work at saka health risk due to existing health issues. So ang first pa rin po, based sa Department of Health, would be the PNP medical frontliners deployed in the hospital quarantine facility, swabbing facilities, the MRF, RSSF members who are projected to be mobilized by the NTF vaccination program, and the contact tracers. Next slide, please. For the priority listing naman po, based on the vulnerability, especially those personnel highly exposed to COVID virus due to nature of work and health risk, and I mean dun sa positivity rate ng area. So ang number 1 po sa listahan is the NCR, Region 4A, Region 3, Region 7, at ang Department of Health po ay sinama na rin po ang Region 11. Next slide po. Ito po yung ginawa naming microplanning based on the Department of Health na kinascade po namin sa aming mga personnel. So, COVID-19 immunization training cascade plan ay natapos na po namin noong January. Dito po sa initial po list po kasi naming pinasa, 10,000 po ang total strength ng Kamkrame, pero pinataper po ito ng Department of Health. So, ginawa po namin, lahat po ng PNP medical frontliners po namin, na nagsabi ng yes doon po sa aming CODA, yun po ang aming mga nilagay po sa listahan at sinabit po sa DOH. Next slide po. Ito po yung ginawa naming cascading and tabletop exercises na nag-umpisa po yan noong January. Ginawa po namin yan una sa mga senior officers ng aming ospital. Next slide po. After the cascading, nagkaroon po kami ng drill and motion exercise prior sa aming simulation exercise. Doon po sa aming drill and motion exercise, lahat po ng PNP General Hospital personnel ay sumama po dyan sa aming motion exercise. Hindi po ibig sabihin na sila ay babakunahan, pero po dahil po kasi sila ay madedeploy kung sakali po kami ay mag-uumpisa na ng pagbabakuna. Next slide please. So sinundan po namin ang process from the registration, counseling, screening, vaccination area, and monitoring. Mapapansin niyo po, konti lang po yung mga nandyan. Sinusundan po kasi namin yung minimum health protocol at saka po yung division ng oras. So kada 30 minutes, meron po kaming mga 10 personnel lang po ang papasok sa bawat area para po hindi po masyadong crowded yung area. Next slide please. So ganyan po. Makikita rin po doon sa my left side, DOH po yung pinapakita namin doon sa aming counseling area. Ang DOH po kasi ang nagbababa o nagmamandato para sa atin doon po sa ipapakita at ibibigay po namin doon po sa aming pre-counseling area. Next slide po. Next slide. For the simulation exercise, natapos na rin po namin last week, the registration is through the QR code of the PNP CODA. Only PNP personnel will be admitted at the vaccination site on his/her scheduled date and time to maintain minimum health standard. So kung makikita niyo po, hindi lang na-capture yung aming computer, lahat po ng papasok sa amin na PNP ay gagamitin po ang QR coding namin. I-check po ng aming registration at ng IT personnel po bago po sila makakapasok. Every 30 minutes, queuing po nila, papasok po sila, bago po sila mababakunahan. Next slide po. So ganito po ang nangyari sa aming simulation. Every 30 minutes, papasok, lahat po ay nakaschedule through the QR code ng PNP CODA. So, yun pa rin po, nag-maintain po kami ng minimum health standard para po hindi po tayo magkahawaan doon po sa area. Sinabi naman po ng DOH na hindi na kailangan mag-PPE, only the face mask and face shield lang po. So wala pong naka-PPE sa area kahit sa simulation exercise namin. Dito rin po, next slide po. Okay. So the tasking would be for the PNP General Hospital, the acting chief PNP GH is the overall supervisor. The chief head would be in charge of the manpower. The chief operation is the overall in charge of the vaccination operation. The chief NST or the nursing service division is the lead for the vaccination team leaders. The chief pharmacy is in charge of the cold chain or the cold chain manager and availability of the dedicated bioref for the COVID-19 vaccine. The chief GSS for the physical setup and the waste management. The chief supply and logistics would be in charge for other requirements. Next slide, please. The QRT for the supplementary plan. The QRT is a dedicated rescuer po namin. We have dedicated ambulance for the hospital transfer. Meron po kaming tatlong advanced life support ambulances na capable mag-transfer ng mga pasyente kung saan po namin pwedeng dalhin. Although meron naman po kaming ospital, kung sakali lang po talagang magkakaroon kami ng maximum capacity. The ITMS would be in charge of the QR coding. The SHU or the Station Health Unit would be for the daily monitoring of the vaccinated individuals. The VTL or the vaccination team leaders would be in charge of the weekly reporting to the Department of Health. The Deputy PNP GH is for the overall coordinator to the DOH. The Chief of Clinics would be the daily reporting of the AEFI. So kasi po, ang DOH po ay minandato po ang aming PNP GH na kailangan may daily reporting at may weekly reporting po. So lahat po yan ay cascaded na sa aming personnel. Next slide, please. For the contingency plan, the adverse effect from immunization will be attended immediately by the composite team and directly under a medical controller. So aside from the medical controller, may mga doktor po kaming nakadeploy sa araw ng pagbabakuna. So ang medical controller naman po kasi siya ang tatanggap doon sa aming emergency room. Kaya po kami ay under ng medical controller. The composite team or QRT, Quick Response Team, that are trained uniform PNP personnel dedicated in emergency response and patient transport. The PNP General Hospital is 200 meters away from the MPC. It is a level 2 hospital and will be the referring hospital for AEFI in Camp Crame. Next slide. For the emergency plan, the electric power generator is readily available for electrical power supply disruption. The PNP GH cold chain manager is thoroughly coordinated with the DOH. Next slide po. So this would be the proposed floor map on the vaccination day. So sa amin po, bago po dumating o bago pumasok sa aming registration, sa may entrance, meron po muna kaming holding area. Doon po sa left lower part ng screen, nandun po ang holding area namin, foot, bath, and hand washing. Kasi ang sabi ng DOH po, hindi na po kailangan mag-PPO, so dapat lahat ng papasok ay naka-minimum health standard, hand wash and foot bath. So pagkapasok po niya sa sanitation or the triage area, papasok na po sa registration through the QR coding pa rin po kami. Pag okay na po sa QR code, pwede na po tayong pumasok sa pre-vaccination and counseling. Sa pre-vaccination and counseling po natin, doon po ipapakita yung 10-minute video ng Department of Health para sa kung papaano at bakit at anong kailangan ng ating mga PNP personnel o ang ating mga vaccinee, bakit tayo kailangan magpabakuna. Dito rin po sa area na ito, doon sa may yellow part, doon din po sila pipirma ng ating consent. Ang consent po ay galing din po ang Department of Health. Lahat po ng aming ibibigay ay sumusunod lang po kami sa mandato ng Department of Health. So after po nila na sila ay babakunahan na at pumirma na ng consent, pupunta na po sila sa screening process. Sa screening process po, kukuhanan po sila ng vital signs at titignan po ng aming medical doctor na magsasabi kung sila po talaga ay qualified para sa ating pagbabakuna. Kung sila po ay qualified, didiretso po sila sa vaccination area. Kung hindi naman po sila qualified, meron pa rin po kaming ITMS doon na magsasabing siya ay disqualified. So makikita po kagad ito sa aming QR code na sila ay hindi pwedeng bakunahan. After the vaccination po, doon naman po sa mga mababakunahan, lalabas pa rin po yan dahil i-verify po ito ng aming ITMS para sa aming QR coding. Then after the vaccination, by the Department of Health mandates, na kailangan silang i-monitor ng 1 oras. So actually 15 minutes lang by the WHO, pero ang DOH ay nagpa-extend until 1 hour. So imo-monitor po namin sila for 1 hour. Pag wala pong magiging problem, sila po ay makakauwi. Kung magkaka-problem naman po, dadalhin po namin sila sa aming PNP General Hospital o malapit lang po ito dito. Next slide, please. So ito po ang ginawa naming vaccination schedule. Para po hindi magkaroon ng problema sa aming operation, hinati-hati po namin ang division ng aming ospital, ng section, at ng mga wards para po kahit po araw-araw o kahit po may pasyente kami sa bawat area, diretso pa rin po yung operation namin. So included po ang mga security, ang utility workers, at ang mga key officers po ng aming ospital. So pinaplano po namin sa 534 na nag-yes, pinaplano po namin na magawa ito within 8 to 5 hours, 18 to 20 per hour po ang aming computation. So every 30 minutes, meron po kaming 10 na babakunahan na papasok. Next slide, please. So yan po, sumusunod lang po kami sa ilalabas ng DOH. So vaccination pa rin po ang sinusunod namin. Next po. So thank you po. Thank you, sir. That's end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clarice Modes. Now, this is actually our vaccination plan for our personnel. This is part of our Protect program, which is internal vaccination program. But of course, as members of the PNP is mandated also to provide necessary assistance to the national government in providing security and other crucial role on the national vaccination program. And that is actually our Oplan Kadosius. So may we hear from the Director for Operation, Police Major General Alfred Corpus, his briefing on Oplan Kadosius.
Thank you, DCA, sir. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Okay. Try mo na para maniguro lang. Okay, let me present to you the PNP Security Plan Caduceus. Okay. You might be wondering what is caduceus, no? Caduceus is, I'm sorry, we do not have any, wala tayong, I don't know, picture of what caduceus means, but basically it was a wand or a staff na dala-dala ni Greek god Hermes or Mercury, no? And it is traditionally associated with healing. That is why our chief PNP, we named it PNP Security Plan Caduceus. Yun yung parang yung sa medicine na yung merong two snakes na intertwined, no? Yan yung Caduceus. Anyway, this plan covers the security and public safety guidelines to be undertaken by your Philippine National Police as member of 3 task groups, namely the Task Group Cold Chain and Logistics Management, the Task Group Immunization Program, and Task Group Demand Generation and Communication. This is in support to the Philippine National COVID-19 Deployment and Vaccination Plan. Now, it is expected that as we go along, there will be additions and adjustments until the day of the actual administration of the vaccines. Next slide, please. So my presentation will include the situation, mission, the structure, and I will also touch on the simulation exercise that we recently conducted with the different national government agencies. Next slide. The communist terrorist groups and other threat groups remain as threat to vaccination program of the government. The CTGs, the LTGs may exploit the program through propaganda activities in a bid to project itself as a pro-people organization. Further, they may criticize the government's alleged lack of clear plans to acquire enough vaccines. Likewise, they will create disinformation and sow confusion and arouse discontent among the people and highlight the CTG's narrative that the government is incompetent and has failed to provide for the needs of our people. Additionally, other threat groups may sabotage the smooth implementation of the vaccination plan. Hence, security plan caduceus. Next slide. The Philippine government shall ascertain that the administration of vaccines to protect the Filipinos from the dangers of COVID-19 will end this public health emergency and will put the country's economy back on track. In support to the national vaccination program of the government, the Philippine National Police shall ensure the public safety and security during the implementation of the Philippine National COVID-19 Deployment and Vaccination Plan. Shown is the vaccine cluster organizational structure, which aims to establish a unified command, control, coordination, and cooperation of COVID-19 immunization program. It is under the National Task Force Against COVID-19 and shall serve as the National Technical Working Group. The PNP will support the COVID-19 vaccine cluster, being a member of 3 task groups, namely the cold chain, logistics management, and immunization program, demand generation, and communications. Yan po yung naka-encircle. Diyan po nakapaloob ang inyong Philippine National Police. Aligned with the National Vaccine Cluster, the PNP organizational structure on security plan caduceus is headed by our TDCO, Lieutenant General Cesar Hawthorne Binag, as the overall supervisor. And I will be assisting him as the deputy supervisor. And the 3 sub-task groups, first, the sub-task group Vaccine Cold Chain and Logistics Management will be headed by the Director of Logistics. The STG, or Sub-Task Group COVID-19 Immunization Program, will be headed by the Director of the Personnel and Records Management, that is Major General Uno Daway. And lastly, the Sub-Task Group Demand Generation and Communications will be headed by the Director for Community Relations. And this is Major General Rodel Sermonia. The Directorate for Integrated Police Operations will supervise the regional sub-task groups in the respective areas. So shown is the flow chart on the security plan. Upon arrival from the airport to vaccination center sites, by providing area, route, and convoy security during the transport and administration of vaccines, including reverse logistics. So, yun po, ganito po ang mangyayari. Pagdating ng vaccines from the airport, meron na pong security coverage ang inyong kapulisan. Pag ito po ay transport doon sa storage, kasama pa rin po kami. Pag-distribute po sa different distribution centers, kasama pa rin po yung inyong mga pulis, hanggang maiturok po yung mga vaccines sa mga recipients na andun pa rin po ang inyong mga pulis. The succeeding slides, I will show you in the succeeding slides the full-scale simulation exercise that we conducted during the arrival and distribution conducted last February 9 to 10, 2021. The simulation exercise covered the preparations from the arrival of the vaccines at the airport, transfer and storage at RITM, and its distribution to the different hospitals, health facilities like the Philippine General Hospital, Lung Center of the Philippines, and Dr. Jose N. Rodriguez Memorial Hospital in NCR, Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center in Cebu City, and Southern Philippines Medical Center in Davao City. By the way, I forgot to inform you that as of today, we have already directed the different regional offices of the Philippine National Police to activate already their Regional Vaccination Operation Center. The National Operation Center is now established in Camp Aguinaldo in APCO. We have already a team of PNP personnel deployed there under the Directorate for Operations. Konektado na po yung ating Philippine National Police Command Center na andito sa DO, which is headed by General Benji Santos. So, naka-activate na po yung ating mga operation centers all over the Philippines. And we are ready to receive the vaccines as far as the Philippine National Police is concerned. Now, I believe you know that there is a forthcoming arrival already of the vaccines, no? From Sinovac and Pfizer. I think Sinovac vaccines will be arriving on the 23rd. The Pfizer vaccines were supposed to arrive last February 13 ba yun? But it was postponed. So baka magpang-abot yung Pfizer at yung Sinovac. So your police is already prepared for their arrivals, and we have already activated yung ating mga regional vaccination operation centers. So ito po yung nangyaring simulation exercise last February 9 and 10. No? The vaccines arrived at NAIA Terminal 2. It was transported to RITM. From there, from RITM, which is the storage facility from RITM, it was distributed to PGH, Lung Center, Jose Rodriguez Hospital, that's in Caloocan North, in Tala, Caloocan, and another set of vaccines were transported back to Terminal 2, NAIA, for it to be flown to Cebu City, no, and Davao. So, na-complete po yung simulation exercise na yan, and it was a success. We saw some minor corrections, no? So, it's being addressed right now. Kailangan nating baguhin, no? So, but as far as we are concerned, the Philippine National Police, we are now ready for the arrival of these vaccines. So, the succeeding slides will just be the photos of the exercises that we conducted last February 9. Next slide, please. So, yan po yung arrival sa airport, and then nakita ninyo yung van, yung cold storage na van, it was transported. No. Next slide. Ito naman po yung arrival sa Cebu City. No. So ang security convoy na prepare namin for this purpose is meron tayong mga motorcycle escorts, and then may lead escort, may tail escort. So, fully covered po yan. Next slide. So, ito naman yung sa Davao. Okay, next slide. Yesterday, the commander, our DCO and the Chief PNP instructed me to also commit our air assets, no, for the distribution of vaccines doon sa malalayong far-flung areas. So we are now coordinating with the National Task Force so that they may be informed that we are committing the air assets of the Philippine National Police to also help in the distribution of the vaccines in far-flung areas. So I guess that is all for my briefing and presentation, unless you have questions for your Director of Operations of the PNP. None. Thank you at magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, our Director for Operations.
With the permission of our DCA, we shall now proceed to the Q&A portion of this press conference. We shall begin with Sir Mar Gabriel from Net25. Sir, please.
Sir, good morning. Sir, may we know kung ilan yung doses na allocation for PNP? Tapos ilan na po yung nag-signify na magte-take ng vaccine?
For the PNP, we are given 700 doses, 700 persons to be vaccinated during the first dose as well as the second dose. May we confirm this with the health service, this figure? Oh yeah, may we have Dr. Clarissa Modes. Please use the mic. Wala ba dyan? Hindi ba gumagana? Sige, yung... So that we can have the figure allotted for us by DOH. Go ahead, Clarissa.
Sir, initially, sir, we submitted 10,000 for the total strength of the Camp Crame, sir. Pero po, sir, yung last po nating submission, sir, inalaw lang po nila yung health medical frontliner po, sir. So, mga 700 po yun, sir. 704.
So 700 will be allotted to us initially, since the personnel of the GER Hospital will be accommodated. At yun yung initial advice na binigay sa atin. So we have prepared for that. Even though, based on our vaccination plan and the implementation of the PROTECT program, we are prepared to provide the necessary names of our personnel kung sakaling bibigyan na kami ng additional na quota for vaccination. And we have also our own priority list, meaning itong nasa frontline natin, aside from those personnel assigned with the General Hospital, those who will be manning or will be part of the close-end security of this vaccine, which will be distributed nationwide, isasama na rin siya doon. And what also to be considered is the geographical location of our police personnel from Metro Manila and other places identified by DOH, like, for example, in Cebu and Davao and in Baguio. So, we will just wait for further guidelines, detailed guidelines from DOH, and we will act accordingly based on those guidelines or specific numbers of personnel that could be vaccinated in our ranks. Thank you.
Still have another question, sir?
Sir, follow-up, sir. Sir, paano pinili yung 700 na isinubmit sa DOH? At out of 700, sir, parang nabanggit kanina, 500 lang yung nag-yes so far. Ano yung mga dahilan, sir? Bakit hindi pa napuno yung quota na 700?
Okay. Actually, in the PNP, we have, through our CODA, we also ask for the sentiments and the feelings of our personnel. So ito yung honest to goodness na pakiramdam nila dito sa ating mga vaccine. And that will be the basis for us for our intervention. Dahil nga nagtanong kami, we can call this a survey, meron dumang comment na they need more information, they need more time. So our health service has came up with DOH vaccination videos to be posted in our CODA for the appreciation of our personnel, as well as frequently asked questions. You know, the PNP is a reflective of the national public on its sentiments. Kasi with the current events that we have monitoring, ang pulis naman natin is bahagi ng ating publiko. So, initially, inalam natin yung kanilang mga reactions on this one para makagawa kami ng appropriate intervention. And so far, napakaganda naman naging initial reaction dahil nakita natin na may mga pulis tayo na naliliwanagan on the importance of this vaccination, which will be our basis for this vaccine rollout. We know for a fact that in the PNP, sa ngayon, ang aming guideline is hindi naman pwedeng pilitin sila kung ayaw nila o gusto nila. But sinasabi nga natin na lalo na dito sa epicenter or Metro Manila or other places, kailangan ng proteksyon ng pulis at kailangan nila magbabakuna. So we are trying our best to persuade them or to convince them na magpabakuna, hindi pinipilit, kung hindi para maliwanagan ang importance ito. Just like what the DOH and other LGUs have been doing to the public. So yung 700, yung 700 natin, meron naman tayong list na nun. Kasi kung makikita naman natin, maraming, we have personnel ready for that 700. And initially, they have identified the 500, but the remaining one ay meron na tayo nasa listahan. Clarissa, can you clarify on that? Yes, can we have the director of the health service, Police Brigadier General Chito Magdaye?
The figure 534 is those personnel who have PNP CODA, sir. But for the others, sir, we have also volunteered workers na walang PNP CODA kaya hindi siya kasama doon sa recorded as presented a while ago. And aside from this, yung binabanggit din ni DCA kanina in his report and ni DCO, ni TDO regarding doon sa mga security personnel natin na involved doon sa makita nyo kanina yung vaccination plans natin from the transporting hanggang doon sa pag-administer ng vaccination to complete the 700 portion. Yun po yung ano, sir.
Thank you. Huwag po kayong maglala. Yung 700 na yun is siguradong magagamit ng ating personnel, particularly the ones manning our general hospital.
Sir, follow up ulit. Sir, hindi ba kulang yung 700? Ilang pulis po ba ang gagamitin natin doon sa buong...
No, actually, 700 lang inalat sa atin. Talagang kulang yun. But meron naman tayo scheduling and prioritizing. Kung matatandaan natin, ang initial munang bibigyan ay yung mga personnel of the different hospitals. Kaya nga, they have identified in Metro Manila 4 hospitals. At dahil may extra pa naman, nagbigay din sila sa ibang mga agencies like in the Armed Forces of the Philippines and at the PNP. At sa amin, hindi naman kami nagsabi kung ilan bibigay sa atin. We have prepared for the priority listing at sila naman nagsabi na 700 muna, pero ito ay para supposed to be sa general hospital. Employees or workers or those who are detailed with the general hospital. So yun yung natin. Kulang talaga kung sa kulang yun kasi we have 219,000 personnel. So prioritizing yan and naka-ready tayo once na available na ito mga ito. That's why meron na tayong vaccination plan for our personnel.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next is Ma'am Leia Ilagan of the UNTV. Ma'am.
Morning, sir. Sir, may natukoy na ba tayong mga kampo ng PNP na possible na gawing vaccination center o doon sagawa ng pagbabakuna, lalo na dun sa mga malalayong lugar na wala talaga silang magagamit? At nakahanda na ba yung mga personnel din natin dun, sir, if ever na doon?
Based on the guidelines of the CPNP and even before na magkaroon ng directive ang ating Pangulo na gagamitin ang ating mga police station on this vaccination, directive has been given to all the police regional offices para makapaghanda tayo. So we know for a fact that the PNP, our PNP is deployed everywhere in the Philippines. So kung halimbawa the DOH has decided na gagamitin ang ating PNP facilities, by all means, we are prepared for that. So it could be in the regional headquarters, dahil wala namang counterpart ang ating LGU sa mga regional headquarters. So probably, kung ang pag-uusapan natin is personnel of the PNP, pwedeng gawin yun. But they can also accommodate the public kung kinakailangan. In the case of the provinces and ating mga cities and municipalities, the directive is given to our commanders in the ground to closely coordinate with our local chief executive kung saan gagawin itong pagbabakuna. At available ang ating mga provincial as well as city and municipal headquarters. If the LGU, in coordination with the PNP, DOH, have decided na doon ang facilities para sa vaccination. So, depende rin sa ating area, but we are prepared for that.
Sir, hindi ba madadagdagan yung 700 na bakuna? Kasi sa AFP, sa kabila po, 25% ng kanilang mga tauhan ang unang mapapasama doon sa mga unang babakunahan, sir. 25%.
Yes, thank you. Just like what the health service has said earlier, initially, nag-request kami na mas marami. Pero, syempre, we can only request. Sa atin, gusto natin mabakunahan lahat ng mga person natin na initially willing magpabakuna. Pero depende nga sa priority. So, mag-iintay lang tayo na ibibigay sa atin. Kung anong ibigay sa atin, yun lang aming tatanggapin.
Sir, anong magiging...
Our DCO will have an answer to that.
Thank you, sir. In addition to sa sinabi ni TTCA, yung ating kasi mga police, sa initial meeting namin with different DRDOs, actually kasama sila sa plano ng LGU o marami sa kanila, no? So kaya nga gusto rin naming malinaw sa aming mga hepe, sa regional directors, sa PD, sa city directors, alamin nila, siguruhin nila kung kasama sila doon sa vaccination program ng LGU para mabawas na doon sa amin dito sa national headquarters na computation. So pag nakuha namin yung mga datos na yon, siguro as we move on, may papakita namin sa inyo at mas magiging klaro. Doon naman sa sinabi rin ni TDCA, yung in-offer nga ng PNP, yung ating mga offices, police stations, provincial headquarters, ito ay dadaan naman sa evaluation ng DOH katulad ng sinabi niya. No? Kasi may mga sinusunod na standard, katulad ng pinakita kanina ng health service, yung presentation nila, na in-evaluate din yun ng ating DOH. At pag ito ay naging angkop o pumasa doon sa standard nila, then gagamitin natin yun. Thank you, sir. Bok.
Thank you. So our commanders on the ground are coordinating with the LGUs, of course, and also with the DOH regarding this matter.
Sir, itanong ko na rin para hindi na ako magtanong mamaya. Sir, anong reaction nyo doon sa, in favor ba ang PNP pala doon sa muling pagbubukas ng mga cinema, sir, dito sa Metro Manila? Mga sinihan, sir.
Well, alam mo kasi, kaya nga tayo merong IATF. And ang IATF kasama dyan ang health sector. At basically, they are the one deciding based on the data available kung ano ang mas maganda para sa ating bansa. Kinukonsider yung public health, kinukonsider economy. So sa atin, the PNP being main force in the implementation of this program, we'll just wait for their recommendation and the approval of the President. So mas maganda na hayaan natin na pag-aralan nila. Sa atin kasi, susunod na naman tayo kung anong guidelines sa kanila. So yun ang stand ng ating PNP.
Thank you, sir.
Next, ma'am, is Ann Soberano from Bobo Radio.
General, good morning po. Sir, General Elazar or si General Alfred Corpus. Sir, ang tanong ko lang po is, may banta ba sir talagang natanggap ang Philippine National Police, especially sa mga CTGs and LTGs, kasi na-mention nyo kanina na possible no, na may mga pananabotahe. Sir, may natanggap po ba tayong confirmed threat mula po dito sa mga CTGs and LTGs na sa pagsisimula po ng vaccine rollout natin? Thank you.
Yes, okay.
Yes, wala namang wala namang confirmed na natanggap na ganun. Those are assumptions that lagi naming inaano para mapaghandaan namin, no? Mapaghandaan namin. Thank you.
Pero sir, binabantayan din ba natin yung mga areas na malakas yung presence ng mga CTGs and LTGs?
Of course, no? Binabantayan natin. Well, siguro kung I was just dun sa ibang bansa, meron na nangyaring gano'n, di ba? Na yung convoy ng vaccines parang sinabotahe at kinuha. So those are the things that we have to assume, no? And prepare contingencies. So kasama kasi yan sa planning na dapat meron kang prepared contingencies for any eventualities na pwedeng mangyari. Okay, so lahat yan piniprepara namin. There are, we have prepared reactions for possible situations. In any situations, we have prepared actions on.
Sir, ilang percent po ng PNP force ang nakadeploy po? Doon lang po nakatutok doon sa pag-secure, sa pag-travel ng mga vaccine at doon po sa mga vaccination sites, sir. Ilang percent po ang puwersa ng PNP na gagamitin po para doon, General?
Yung preparation kasi ng rollout ng vaccines, localized yan eh. No? So, depende doon sa darating na kung gaano ka-frequent yung darating na vaccines on a certain area, a corresponding security package will be prepared for them. No? So, yung ating mga regional directors naman, alam naman nila yung kanilang mga gagawin dyan eh. No? So, for as long as the general plan has been laid down, the different regional directors are supposed to come up with their respective implementing plans on this. And we've been monitoring them, no, doon sa updates ng kanilang preparations.
Like mga urban centers, sirs, or mga mga ilang percent po doon sa mga police force? Kasi sabi niyo nakadepende. What if po doon sa mga lugar na medyo may threat nga, sir? So medyo mataas din yung bulto ng mga police personnel na magbabantay.
Yes. Yes.
Pero in general, sir, ilang percent po? Mga 70, 80% po ng police force ang nakalaan para sa vaccination rollout campaign ng government?
Well, the Chief PNP has committed the full force of the Philippine National Police, no, to ensure the success of this vaccination rollout. No? So, ang buong pwersa ng kapulisan talagang committed to secure this vaccination rollout. Thank you.
Thank you, General.
Yes, DCA, please.
Sir, para mas siguro at in addition do sa sinabi ni TDO, yung konsepto na ginamit natin dito na pamilyar kayo, ito yung konsepto ng pag-secure ng election. just to illustrate it, no. So kung mapansin niyo yung kaninang flowchart, magmula sa arrival, kung ihahalin tulad natin sa election, yung arrival ng mga paraphernalia sa ports, seaports, hanggang makarating doon sa warehouse, hanggang makarating doon sa, di ba, ganun sa election, yun yung sinisecure namin, no? Hanggang doon makarating doon sa kung sa election doon sa precinct. Ito naman hanggang doon sa vaccination centers. Tapos hanggang pagbalik naman ng mga tao kung sino man yung mag-inoculate doon o yung magba-vaccine doon sa kanilang mga station. Yun yung pinaka konsepto ng aming security plan. Of course, jointly done with the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Coast Guard, tapos yung Bureau of Fire nung nag-meeting kami. At katulad ng in-explain ni General Corpus, ang lahat ng security plan, driven to ng aming threat and risk assessment. Please take note, wala kaming ginagawa na security plan nang walang threat and risk assessment. Kasi pagka walang threat and risk assessment, sabog ang plano mo. Ito nakafocus doon sa mga risk factors o yung mga threat groups. At pinaliwanag nga kanina, nandyan yung CTGs, nandyan yung LTGs, at yung pangatlo nga na palagi natin kinukonsidera, yung criminal elements, no? At itong pagkandak ng aming threat and risk assessment, continuous to, non-stop. So hindi yung isang beses lang kasi nag-evolve yung situation as we implement the National Vaccination Program. Initially, at the national level, nagkaroon ng presentation ang ating yung NICA para sa threat assessment. So hindi ko na pwedeng sabihin yung detalye, pero mula doon, ginawa namin yung aming vaccination plan for the security plan. Then, katulad ng sinabi ni General Corpus, dinirect namin lahat ng regional directors para sa kanila naman, sa level nila, gagawa din sila ng continuous threat and risk assessment na magiging basihan din naman nila ng kanilang security plan ayon sa konsepto sa pag-secure ng election. So, ganun yung muna. Tapos yung ibang detalye, pwede nating sigurong matanong, katulad sa Pasig. Pasig City is one of the, sabi nga nila, di ba, yung isang city, among the cities na kung saan magkakaroon ng vaccination. So, yung Pasig City Police, under the supervision of Eastern sa NCRPO, nag-prepare sila ng security plan. Nag-present sila sa amin, yun, detalyado na. Yung tanong mo, tao por tao na yun, kung saan yung magmula doon sa pick-up point ng mga bus, para doon sa mga papabaksin hanggang makarating doon sa vaccination center, may mga pulis kami na magsisecure doon. Pati yung telephone number nila kasama doon. Parang election, no? So, but this time siguro ang pwede naming maibigay, yung overall concept muna at yung succeeding details, makukuha nyo naman yan as we move on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mr. Dolan Castro of ABS-CBN, sir.
Good morning, sir. Sir, balikan ko lang po yung sa AMLAC kanina. Nabanggit nga po kaninang umaga meron tayong partnership with AMLAC. Sir, ano po yung pinaka-purpose ng PNP? Meron ba tayong mga tututukang mga kaso o meron tayong mga... kaya po natin ginawa itong partnership na ito, sir?
Well, basically, in our campaigns against criminality, lalo yung mga big-time syndicates, including those who are involved in illegal drugs, nakapag-file tayo ng kaso against them. But more important than that, ang gusto kasi natin is yung kanilang ill-gotten properties coming from their illegal activities will be seized and forfeited. So, with this collaboration of the PNP with other law enforcement units as well as regulating bodies, particularly itong ating AMLAC, we are hoping na mas magiging maganda ang ating ang effort. At the same time, yung ating objective na talagang ma-neutralize natin itong mga big time na mga syndicates will be complied or will be considered. So, hindi lang yung basta mag-file tayo ng kaso. At yun ang gusto nating makita, the technical aspect of this, that even yung kanilang mga assets or other illegal properties and resources that gained from their illegal activities will be forfeited in favor of the government. And with this coordination, we can expect more collaboration in the other aspect of law enforcement.
No more, sir. Next is Mr. J. Mark Dagala, DWIZ. Sir.
Sir, good morning po. Sir, susugan ko lang yung tungkol dun sa AMLAC. Nagkaroon po ba ng dialogue between AMLAC and PNP regarding po dun sa alleged na mga unauthorized withdrawals po sa payroll ng mga PNP personnel?
May knowledge kayo doon? So, unauthorized transaction of?
Unauthorized withdrawal po sa mga ATM payroll accounts.
Sa land bank. Oh, well, initially kasi, ngayon pa lang kasi tayo nagkaroon ng MOA signing.
Yes po.
And the coordination that was made was in preparation for this MOA signing. So yung mga binabanggit mo na yan na ibang mga aspeto will be discussed. Or ito ngayon ang magiging, we can say, ito yung magiging programa natin or activities with the PNP and AMLAC. So lahat ito pwede nating maging basihan so that we can access based on the existing rules and regulation kung paano tayo makakuha ng mga information that could be used on the prosecution and to address other illegal activities. So, i-consider yun, bago consider. Pero hindi pa yan pinag-usapan dahil ngayon pa lang naman tayo, ngayon pa lang nagkaroon ng MOA signing with the AMLAC.
Okay, sir. And
may dadagdag si DCO.
okay po.
Isang sir, if I may, isang concrete activity na nakapaloob doon sa ating MOA, magkakaroon ng fusion center dito sa loob ng Camp Crame. Pag sinabing fusion center, so nandoon yung representative nila, nandoon yung representative natin dito para sa on a day-to-day activities ng both agencies, may nakatutok, no? So mas mabilis ang coordination. So maaring makover na dyan yung sinabi mo, plus syempre, primarily, yung mga investigation of cases, particularly yung sa illegal drugs, no? Yun yung binanggit kanina. Nakita nyo naman kahit sa ibang bansa, kung mahirap imbestigahan ng isang kaso, kadalasan nadadali nila pagdating sa financial audit, yung audit na trail ng financial activities ng mga criminal group, no?
Apo. Sir, follow up lang po doon. Matanong ko lang, sir, kung gaano na po katagal o kung matagal na po ba may natatanggap na informations regarding dito sa mga unauthorized withdrawals sa payroll po ng mga PNP personnel? Kung meron lang po.
DIDM, meron ba tayong, do you have data on that?
Sir, with regard to that unauthorized withdrawal, sir, we only monitored that when the Chief PNP visited our troops in Calbayog, and one of the concerns there is the unauthorized withdrawal. So, our finance service had made a directive that from the Chief PNP's guidance that once the salary is being released to our personnel, they will withdraw it immediately. With regard to that number, sir, we don't have yet a data on that, sir.
Thank you. So that was only based on the information given by our personnel in Region 8 when the Chief PNP visited that PRO. So, kaya nga dahil nangyari yun, pinadisseminate na lang lahat para hindi na siya maulit pa, or appropriate intervention could be made para hindi na maulit or ma-apprehend natin kung meron mang ganong similar illegal activities ba.
Apo. Last na lang, sir. Can you confirm po, meron po kasing mga kumakalat na naman na mga information sa social media regarding daw po kung meron daw pong isang official o general in particular na nag-positive daw po sa COVID-19?
Well, I believe that it was revealed or announced by the Chief PNP or even before that the director of aviation group has been infected with the coronavirus. So, yun ba yung tinutukoy doon?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, ayun, naka-isolate naman siya. And just like we've been telling, talagang lahat naman kami dito, pwedeng ma-infect. Kaya nga, appropriate protocol, dapat na sinusunod natin.
Salamat po.
Thank you, sir. Next is Paul Montibon from SMNI.
Yes, sir. Salamat, sir. General Elizar, good morning po. Sa ibang ano po tayo, sir, ngayong February 15 ay magtatapos po ang deadline para sa road clearing operations. Kumusta po yung coordination natin? Kasama po kasi ang PNP dito. At yung pagkakaalam po namin ay maging bahagi din po ang road clearing na ito para magamit at mas maging mabilis yung delivery ng vaccines, oras na dumating na ito dito sa bansa po natin, General.
Thank you. Can we ask DO? Any comment on that?
Tama po kayo, no? Last week, nagkaroon po kami ng meeting about yung road clearing, yung updates ng road clearing operations natin. And yes, the ILG under Yusek Dinsing and Yusek Malaya has put to task the Philippine National Police to support yung ating local government units, no? Doon sa pag-clear, doon sa patuloy na pag-clear ng ating mga obstructions sa kalsada. Nabanggit nga dyan, isa nga sa mga nabanggit dyan, yung mga checkpoints ng Philippine National Police na walang tao, no? So the Directorate for Operations has now directed the different regional directors and the different unit commanders that yung kanilang mga checkpoints na wala namang tao, dapat tanggalin muna nila so that yung smooth flow ng traffic at saka yung expected arrival ng vaccines will not be hampered.
All right, next is Mr. Raymond Dadpaas, DZRH. After this, there will be final two members of the press corps before we end this session. Sir, please.
Sir, thank you po. Kay General Elizar, sir. Going back to the issue on vaccination, yun bang 700 na police, meron ba silang choice to choose a certain brand of vaccine or talagang kung ano lang yung ibibigay sa kanila ng Philippine National Police, sir?
Well, unang-una, yung 700 na yun, as we all know, siya yung unang dating dito based on plan na Pfizer. Supposed to be today ngayon. So yun yung available na ibibigay sa atin para 700. And the police personnel identified by health service, ito na ngayon, yung initially willing magpa-vaccinate. So wala tayong problema doon. So for that 700, wala silang choice. In fact, yung Pfizer naman natin, kung titingnan natin, when we check on the information that we obtained, most of the PNP personnel who want to be vaccinated, gusto nila yung Pfizer. So wala tayong magiging problema doon.
Wala sir nag-signify na gusto nila yung Sinovac, sir?
Still, yun naman, basta merong vaccine. Kasi doon sa atin namang pagtatanong sa kanila, we can call that survey, majority, or we can say 60%, more than 60, right now, mga 63% of our personnel, gusto naman nila na sila ma-vaccinate. And, well, it's a work in progress. That's why in our info dissemination, na nakuha naman natin base sa kanilang sentiment, the health service is spearheading this dissemination of information, particularly on vaccination. Hoping and expecting na yung mga agam ng ibang mga pulis natin as to their initial feedback or sentiments is mabago natin. Kasi yung iba naman talagang gusto lang nila na magkaroon pa ng additional information. And of course, we have to inform them that the objective of this vaccination of the national government is to obtain herd immunity. Bilyon-bilyon na nga itong utang na ito di ba? Ng ating gobyerno. At kung ang ating magiging attitude is we will just wait for others na ma-vaccinate at intay natin yung magiging epekto nyon, parang hindi naman tama yun. So, the police are part of the public, but being in the government service, and particularly, kami yung nasa security forces, sa tingin ko naman, when we took our oath as police officers, part of this is meron tayong mga rights na parang wini-waive na natin in favor of this. But let me clear about this, hindi kami namimilit ng ating mga police, but we want them to understand yung importance nito na maging bahagi sila ng herd community, particularly if you are assigned in places na high risk, kagaya ng Metro Manila and other highly urbanized cities and municipalities.
Sir, sa laki ho nung program, just like what General Binag mentioned in General Corpus, tungkol doon sa pag-escort ninyo, napakalaking trabaho ho ito. Meron bang special fund that was or to be allotted to the PNP pagdating sa responsibilidad na ibinigay sa inyo na ito, sir?
Well, actually, yung pondo kasi, pwedeng dumating yan at alam naman natin pwedeng magkaroon ng augmentation. Pero right now, hindi man namin kailangan sa ngayon ng additional fund kasi bahagi naman ng trabaho natin yun. As you can see, ito naman, kumbaga, sa ngayon is nag-start pala tayo mag-roll out and particular regions have been tasked to do this. But initially, even without the dedicated funds for this, the PNP leadership has allocated or can allocate fund as needed by our personnel or units in the ground. So makapag-adjust tayo doon, just like any other activities and security deployment that the PNP had, may pondo at wala, gumagana yan. So secondary sa atin yun, at we can always do it with the available MOA or funds that our units have. But of course, meron tayong the PNP national headquarters can always augment the resources, whether by personnel or by funds, if needed in the ground.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Alfred Dallison from People's Journal, sir.
Morning, sir. Sir, one question lang kay General Eliasar, sir. Are all police generals ready to be vaccinated to set an example? Kasi may agam-agam yung mga kapulisan natin. Are all generals present here in particular ready to get the vaccine at to convince other members of the police force to be vaccinated, sir?
Thank you, Alfred. Gaya sinasabi ka natin, hindi ito pilitan. So, I can only speak for myself. And, well, doon sa survey sa atin, kagaya ko, ang nilagay ko doon is magpabaksin ako ng any brand. Actually, personally, kung isipin mo, pwede kang mag-isip ng kung ano yung pipiliin mo But, since we are here as police officers and senior officers at that, sa tingin ko, wala man tayong choice kung hindi sundin natin kung ano ang nararapat na dapat natin gawin. So, well, just like what I've said earlier, I can only speak for myself. Even though nakita naman natin na based on our survey that we can say that at least 63% of our personnel right now, and it's improving kasi dynamic, yung kasi sa ating PNP CODA, pwede mong baguhin yung iyong initial sentiment or kung ano yung preference mo. It started when we have this online survey it started last week na 49% yung yung ayaw. Pero as of today, 37% na lang ang sinasabi natin na medyo alanganin pa on this survey. So in a span of 1 week, 12% or around 26,000 yung may change of heart o nagbago yung kanilang pananaw tungkol dito. It was only yesterday na nag-post na kami doon sa aming CODA, which is could be accessed by all personnel, nitong mga DOH vaccination videos, at least 6 of them initially. And then may mga frequently asked questions na andun for the appreciation ng ating personnel. And we are hoping with the guidance of the CPNP and the effort of all unit commanders in the ground that we can persuade our personnel na voluntarily maintindihan nila itong importance ng vaccination so that we can attain herd immunity. So if you want, you can ask our other senior officers here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. As the commander of JTF CB Shield, I am ready to be vaccinated with any brand.
And so am I.
How about the TCDS?
I second the motion.
How about DIDM?
Sir, I'm ready for any kind of vaccine.
How about
Because
the
I believe that this all went through process and approved by the different health organizations, sir.
Our Deputy Director for Logistics?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to be vaccinated, sir.
How about Director for Health Service?
Same, sir.
How about our Chief PIO?
Yes, sir. Now na.
Actually, I have access dun sa mga survey na nakita ko lahat sa mga yan. Ha? At ang nilagay nila doon, without hesitation, yes, any preference or any brand.
Thank you, sir. So, final member from the press corps to ask questions, Mr. Mark Makalalad from DZWB, sir.
Ay, sir, good morning. Sir, sabi nyo, wala pong pilitan. So may possibility na yung mga nasa listahan na mababakunahan ay hindi mabakunahan. Ang sabi po ng Department of Health, dapat yung mga LGU meron silang backup vaccine recipient. Sa PNP, meron din po ba tayong inihahandang backup vaccine recipient?
Well, sa atin kasi, gusto natin na lahat ng PNP personnel must be vaccinated. Di ba? So, when we say backup, sino yung gustong among our personnel, ang backup natin, supposed to be those initially. Initially kasi, di ba, meron tayong priority list. So, yun lang susundin natin. For all you know, kailan ba magiging available or for the whole of our population, kailan ba siya mabibigyan lahat? Well, it is true that the PNP, sabihin natin, actually, ika-apat nga siya sa priority list. So, meaning, kasabay natin yung ibang mga agencies or ibang sectors. So, it will take, based on na nababasa natin, it will take years bago makumpleto ang ating mga kapulisan. So, nasa priority list lang tayo. So, susundin lang natin yun, yung ating priority list. And based on our in-place na online survey, madali yung adjustment na ginagawa natin. Alam mo, napakaganda ng ating online survey kasi nakukuha natin yung kanilang mga personal sentiments about this. And ito yung magkakaroon tayo ng basis for our appropriate agencies or units to make the necessary intervention. Di ba yung ibang survey, parang kumukuha ka lang certain representation of population? Sa amin talagang as of now, 100%, except for 5, ay hindi nag-participate, pero pala ito mga awol o wala na, mga missing action. So basically, all of the 219,095 have participated in this survey. But, gaya sinabi ko kasi inyo, ito po is a dynamic survey na nagbabago based on their feeling or sentiments on this vaccination program.
Sir, follow-up lang dun sa pondo. Yung mga LGU, meron silang indemnification fund. Yung iba, para sakaling merong side effects sa bakuna, mabibigyan ng medical assistance.
Ay, meron tayo doon. Laging, yun ba yung sinasabi mo? Well, kagaya kanina na-explain ng ating health service, even during vaccination, kung ano itong guidelines ng DOH, yun ang susundin. Na even after ng vaccination niya, meron tayong mag-reserve ng at least 30 minutes to an hour na inoobserbahan kung magkakaroon ng adverse reaction sa kanila, just like in any vaccination na ginagawa. And then, kaya nga itong CODA, ngayon is gusto natin na maging maayos ang itong ating database dahil itong ating vaccination program or application will be incorporated in the CODA so that the health record of each and every personnel ng ating PNP, dala-dala niya na yan. From the PCR test, kung kailan ka nag-PCR, kung kailan ka dapat mag-PCR test, up to the CODA, kung ano yung mga vaccine na gagamitin sa iyo, pati na rin yung mga side effects kung meron man, monitoring, as well as the follow-up vaccination na kailangan mo. And eventually, kung ano man na eventually ang mga magiging guidelines sa DOH, will be part of this CODA. So we are prepared for that based on the guidelines and protocols set by DOH as being spearheaded or ang the one in charge natin is the health service.
How about, sir, yung financial assistance sakaling ang merong side effects sa kanila?
The PNP will take care of our personnel. At ganyan naman talaga ang ginagawa natin. Laging tinututukan natin yan. And we can all, even on not this particular program, kung ang ating police is nangangailangan ng tulong, na andyan naman tayo, andyan ang health service natin, and in place naman yung ating mechanism in assisting our personnel.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I guess that ends the session for Monday, and we really are thankful for the presence of our press corps members. Thank you so very much. On behalf of the CPNP, magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat.
Kain muna ng lunch.